Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for my January and February recap. I feel like it's been a hot minute since I've done a video, so you'll have to bear with me. This might be all over the place. I'm still getting over germs, so there might be some sniffling, sneezing, whatnot. Grab a beverage, perhaps a snacky snack. I'm gonna try to keep this on the short side, but you never know. So what's been going on with me the past couple months? Just everyday life stuff. Having fun with some DIY projects, a couple of which I'll show you later on in the video, some of my decks. Speaking of decks, my Oracle deck, I call it an Oracle deck, but not so much. In any case, it's called Cup of Contemplation. Cards, I put those up onto Make Playing Cards for anyone interested, and I just want to say thank you all so much for all of the kind words and encouragement and support. It's been so lovely. It's meant so much, and it has been pretty surreal to see walkthroughs of my deck on YouTube or to see pictures of my deck on Instagram. It's crazy. I've been loving every moment, and again, so grateful and appreciative. But yeah, what else has been going on with me? I don't know, like I've had in-laws come visit. I've gone to visit my own parents, just hanging out with people, getting sick, not the coronavirus. Yeah, and it's just, time flies. What can you say? Let's talk about the decks that I have been working with the past couple months. So in January, the tarot deck or one of the tarot decks that I worked with is the Sun and Moon Tarot, and I've modified this deck, so it's now this little mini deck. But the reason that I chose this deck is because so in December for the holidays, Matt and I went to Key West with another couple on a holiday vacation. And after coming back from that trip, I was missing the sun and the warmth so much. So this felt like the perfect deck to reach for. I just think the imagery is so endearing, so warm and inviting, and yet fiery at the same time, and feisty. And this is a Thoth-based deck, but I have never used it that way. Which is another reason I trimmed the deck, because I wanted to get rid of the Thoth keywords. I am not at all familiar with the Thoth system. And I have not had any problems using this as kind of like an RWS deck. And I've heard many people say that this feels like an RWS deck with Thoth keywords on them. But I would love to hear your thoughts. For those of you who do use this as a Thoth deck, I would love to hear your thoughts about it, because I've only ever seen people use this as like an RWS deck and not so much a Thoth deck. But this was great to work with, as always. The other tarot deck that I worked with in January is the Guardian Angel Tarot, and I followed the lead of Don Michelle over at Boho Tarot, and then Lisa at Supportive Tarot by chopping off the gilded borders, the gold gilding, and re-edging them in different colors. It makes the deck smaller and more manageable, because it really was a big and chunky deck. So I feel like it's still a big deck, but at least a little more manageable. So even though this is called a tarot deck, I don't use it as such. I use this as more of an affirmation deck, and I enjoy the images. They're very Victorian, but I don't necessarily study the images for any type of additional insight. This is the kind of deck where if you don't really want to exert any brain power, you pull a card, you read the message it has to offer, and then you go about your day or your evening. And so that's what I used this for. I mainly pulled from this deck in the evenings to kind of wrap up my day, and it's just a sweet deck. For Oracle, I have been working with 2 decks, and I'm continuing to work with these same decks. So from January to now, it has been 2 Oracle decks, the first one being Jamie Sawyer's Nature Portals. And this is an animal-based deck. I love, love, love Jamie's artwork. And for those of you who might be familiar with me and my channel, you know my history with animal decks and how they don't necessarily call to me a lot after I've purchased them, but this one has been great to work with. And I guess I've been just very kind of low-key in the way that I've been working with this deck. Just kind of no pressure in trying to connect or anything like that. It's just more about learning about these lovely animals and enjoying the images. And so how I've been working with this deck is that I will pull a random card. I will read the companion journal written by Jamie and her mother, Gail, and do some journaling myself on just things that I've learned about the animal from that companion journal, any recollections and personal memories that I have, and so on. And then I will end by actually using this other Oracle deck, which is the Fauna Inspiration Mini Deck. And so this is another animal deck, and what I will do is whatever animal that I pulled from the nature portals, if I remember that the same animal is included in this deck, I will pull that card from the deck and then read what this creator has to say about that same animal, just to learn further about the animal, to just see, kind of compare what the perceptions might be about this same animal energy coming from 2 different creators. So that's been a lot of fun to do. This is another great deck with beautiful imagery. The tarot deck that I worked with in February is the Ellis Deck, the 5th edition. I think I first saw this deck on Lisa's channel, Lisa at Supportive Tarot, and then I saw a walkthrough on Heather Carter's channel, and I just had to have it. So I pre-ordered this deck at the end of last year, and then I think I just received it in January. And this is totally my jam. It is like immersing yourself in like a fantasy novel. And I'm a huge fantasy novel fan. So it's very much in the style of kind of like vector imagery. And you've got a lot of bright colors. And some of these beings or creatures, they range from being cute to sometimes being creepy. And I would say that for me, this deck, the feel of it was more on the kind of, serious side. So the readings that it would give me, they weren't like kick you in the teeth harsh, but they were pretty direct, and sometimes hard hitting a little bit. But I've just really enjoyed using this. I mentioned earlier that I have been working on some DIY decks. I've finished 2 Lenny decks, and I'm continuing to work on my tarot, but I will give you a quick peek of my 2 Lenny decks. The first one The first one actually I started, I want to say at the end of last year, and then I took a break from it, and then I came back to it, and I haven't had a chance to use it though, so I think it's still in order. But I wanted something that had a kind of story time feel, you know, images that you would maybe see in a picture book, images that reminded you of a fairy tale or a children's story, very kind of nostalgic of my childhood kind of deck. And so that's what the inspiration for this style of imagery was. And I think I like how it turned out. I wanted to keep it simple, and yet cute. So I'm very pleased. There's that. And then my other DIY, Lenny, was inspired by Jamie Sawyer, the deck creator. She has been posting on her Instagram, or she was posting her Bitmoji Lenormand that she created, and I was like, I have to make my own Bitmoji Lenormand. That looks absolutely adorable. So for those of you who don't know what Bitmoji is, it's this free app that you can download onto your phone. And it works in the same way as emojis, but instead of, you know, a yellow face for an emoji, you are pretty much custom creating an emoji that looks like you, or however you want it to look like. So it's kind of like an avatar of you. And it's just the cutest thing. And then so the app generates different types of emojis or memes, whatever you want to call them, using your likeness or whatever likeness you've created. And so there are limitations in terms of what Bitmoji images they offer that will match up with a particular Lenormand card. But for the most part, you are able to find images that do correspond pretty well. So this is the back that I chose because hello, cat lover. And that's supposed to be me, you know, as much as a Bitmoji avatar can be, can look like me. But yeah, so this is the clouds. Here you have the snake, the letter, the anchor, which this one I had to find my own anchor. So this is a Bitmoji that I just randomly chose. They didn't have an anchor Bitmoji. So that's just an example there. But these are on 2.5 by 2.5 inch cards. Super cute. So I just really, really like the way it turned out. And you have to also label your own cards. But Jamie has been so generous to provide a free DIY guidebook of how to create your own Bitmoji deck if you want to do that. And it's a great resource. So if you like what you're seeing here, you can download the Bitmoji app for free and make your own deck. It's a lot of fun. Movies and TV. Okay, I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit. Let me look at my notes. Movies. I watched Little Women. I loved it. Loved it, loved it. My friend thought it was, she called it millennial. So she said she preferred the Winona Ryder version. I loved both versions. I really loved this one. I think that one of the things that won me over in particular, well, two things. One, I loved how the movie played with the sequencing of events. So it really plays with a chronology, and I think it was just well executed, kind of jumping back and forth in time. And then also, I really love what this version did with the character Amy. I felt like in the Winona Ryder version, for me, Amy was a throwaway character. I could not give less of a shit about that Amy. This Amy, it was just way more developed, and I had much more stake in her as a character. So I highly recommend that movie. Let's see what else. I watched 1917, another excellent movie. I felt like the beginning was a little slow, but otherwise it was really well done. A war movie. Parasite won all these awards, including Best Motion Picture at the Oscars, Best Director, Best International Film, just a bunch of accolades. And yay, my peeps representing. And I enjoyed the movie. Once again, because of my my attention span, which is about the size of a mosquito, I did find the beginning to be kind of slow. But after it picked up, then it really picked up and it got really interesting. So I totally understand why it's been receiving all the praise that it has been, because it's just very clever and very smart, well-directed screenplay, well-written, well-acted, all that. So another recommendation. I also saw the short animated film Hair Love that you can find on YouTube. I will put a link in the description if I can remember to, or in the cards. So that won the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film, and it's adorable. And it's basically about this father trying to do his daughter's hair for the very first time, and yeah, it's got a great message, a lot of wonderful things to say. So check that one out. TV, the only thing that I've been watching on TV that I finished, I can't believe I even finished it, because I don't finish things. I don't finish TV shows. I watched Sanditon. This was a PBS Masterpiece miniseries based on the unfinished novel by Jane Austen. So the script writer Andrew Davies, who's known for other BBC miniseries, like I think he wrote the script for Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth. So he wrote this script, and he went ahead and obviously had to put an ending on it. But without giving away any spoilers, if you're a Jane Austen fan, if you're a fan of those types of period pieces, you will love some things about this and you will not love some things about this. But all in all, it was a beautiful miniseries. It's very well done. And I'm still having some feelings about it, and I'll just leave it at that. It was just, and the chemistry between the two main characters, the actors, it really worked. A lot of things really worked in that miniseries, but it's also non-traditional in a lot of ways. So just putting that out there, because if you're a traditionalist in terms of period pieces and Jane Austen, this might not. Some things about this might be a turnoff. Books, I did not read a lot at all. I'm trying not to be hard on myself about it, because I've been doing other things and enjoying the other things I've been doing, but I just, I haven't been reading very much. I have read most of Untold Tarot by Caitlin Matthews, I don't know. I've heard two different pronunciations of this name. Someone please direct me. But this is excellent. If you are wanting to learn more about Marseille, like Marseille decks, how to work with Marseille or Pip style decks, this is a fabulous book. I love anything this woman writes. She is great. Her Lenormand book is also excellent. Her decks are good. I have her one Lenormand deck. I mean, she's just fabulous in every single way. And then the only other book that I finished on audio, and that was The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I almost gave up on this book because it was very slow going in the beginning. And and just as, this always happens to me, just as I'm about to quit, then it starts to get good. And so I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I'll keep going. And so this is the same author that wrote The Night Circus, a novel which I absolutely adore. The Starless Sea, by comparison, didn't quite live up for me. I finished it. I don't know if I liked it. I mean, no, I guess I didn't like it. I feel like I didn't like it. Yeah, I didn't like it. Okay. I think I ended the book feeling still kind of like I didn't capture everything, all the details that needed to be captured. There was just so many moving pieces, and then things, coming together towards the end, but it's such a long book. And I don't necessarily like books that try to, that are smarter than me, I guess. So yeah, that is it. I can't believe I made it through without sneezing. Go me. Thank you. If you made it through this whole thing, thank you so much for staying with me through this. And be on the lookout for a string of VRs, because that's the next thing on my list. I have been meaning to do a few VRs to some fun tags I've seen and just, yeah, haven't gotten around to it. So if you see a bunch of VRs showing up, then I've warned you. So, all right, I hope you all are doing well, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Take care.